In a world ruled by alphas, one Omega Prince, Aditya, found himself a pawn in a deadly game. After 2 years of brutal captivity, he thought he found safety with the kind fourth prince, John, of the Earth Clan. He saw an ally, a way to take revenge on the Fire Clan that betrayed him. Their story is just beginning. Watch the full story to find out what happens next. Subscribe to the channel and continue learning about the world through the painful, beautiful lessons of others. Chapter 3. The Earth Alpha. My days were a slow, agonizing crawl through the past. My modern memories, once as clear as a mirror, were now fragmented and hazy. I remembered the name Bangalore, but the smell of its rain and coffee was a distant ghost. The rhythm of my own language, Tamil, felt clumsy on my tongue, yet the memories of this body, Aditya, were vivid and sharp. I could recall the scent of my family's spices, the weight of the royal silks, the cold, calculating eyes of the first prince, and the way my family's smiles never reached their eyes when they spoke of the arranged marriage. The 2 years of brutal hell had broken more than my body. They had stolen my mind. Gian was an endless source of information, a fount of knowledge I eagerly drank from. He explained that this world was not divided by continents, but was a single, interconnected land, a vast living tapestry of different clans. He spoke of his own clan, the Earth Clan, as a people of balance and peace, their strength meant for protection. But my own mind screamed questions his words couldn't answer. Why was I this weak? Why, if I was a prince, was my body so pathetic? Why, when I tried to tear the mark from my neck, did I only half so seed, leaving me with a burning, constant reminder of my shame? I had to be rid of it completely. My gland, still damaged, still partially working, was a chain. It was a constant reminder that I was not my own person. I wanted to be free of it, to sever the last lingering tie to the monster who had enslaved me. My escape had been a desperate, half-finished act, and I needed to complete it. I asked Gian about the creatures, about the land, about the werewolf men, and the six-tailed beasts. He answered me patiently, with a gentle curiosity that I mistook for kindness. He saw my thirst for knowledge as a sign of my healing. He thought that if I could learn to love this world, I would stop wanting to leave it. I saw his love for his world as a weapon to use against him. I was a prince of a betrayed kingdom, and I would use the Earth's prince's trust to get my revenge. I sat with the knowledge of the clans like a deck of cards in my hand. The Fire Clan was brute strength. The Earth Clan was patient defense. The Water Clan was wealth, and the Wind Clan was information. They were all ruled by alphas, each with their own form of dominance. But I was not an alpha. I was an Omega, a creature that was a possession. To fight them on their terms would be to lose. I needed an ally who understood the game from my side of the board. My mind, a quiet voice I had forgotten I had, began to search for the clans that were the exception to the rule, and I remembered snippets of Lord Gian had shared almost as an afterthought. There were clans that did not fit neatly into the elemental system, tribes that were born from necessity. From a shared understanding that brute force was not the only way to power, there was the Shadow Clan. They were said to be a clan of betas and omegas, who had broken away from the old order generations ago. They did not have the physical strength of alphas, but they had something far more powerful: intelligence and guile. Their clan was known for its spies and thinkers, its power lying in the secrets they uncovered. They held no territory, no army, but they could bring down a king with a single piece of information. They were a common ground. They knew what it meant to be prey. And then there was the Moon Clan. Their territory was not a physical place, but a spiritual one. They were a people of healers and seers, of mystics and philosophers. Their power was said to be in their empathy, their ability to mend a broken soul. Their society was run by consensus, not dominance, with leaders who were often omegas or betas chosen for their wisdom. They held no grudges, they ran no wars. They were a peaceful people who ran the world's schools and monasteries, a living, breathing conscience for a world built on power. These were my true allies. One could give me the tools for revenge, the other could provide a sanctuary for my soul. To fight the Fire Clan, I needed to be more than a warrior. I needed to be a ghost, a scholar, and a politician. My choice was made. I would find the Shadow Clan to arm my mind and the Moon Clan to find a way to become whole again. I would not simply take revenge. I would change the entire game. What part of the plan should I set in motion first? Do I seek out the Shadow Clan or the Moon Clan? My mind, a cold, calculating machine, weighed the options. I could seek out the Moon Clan or the Shadow Clan. Both were a departure from the alpha-dominated world I had known. A glimmer of hope in the vast darkness of this new reality. But which one should I trust first? Then a memory came to me, not of this life, but of my old one. I remembered the love and respect in my mother's eyes. I was a prince, a son of a powerful emperor, not a possession. I had been taught to lead, to command, to be a protector. I was raised to believe that my worth was in my mind and my spirit, not in my designation. Here in this world, that dignity had been stripped away. I looked at the royal guards in the hallway at the way they held themselves. Even Jayan, for all his kindness, was an alpha. His very being, his very power was based on a system of dominance. He might not have been a monster like the other alpha, but his offer to control me proved he was no different. He couldn't help it. His world, his biology, his entire existence was based on a fundamental lie that alphas were superior. An alpha would never truly see me as an equal. They would always see me as an omega. My pride, a cold and forgotten ember, began to glow. I would not simply survive in this world. I would rise. I needed a path that didn't just offer me a different master, but one that offered me the tools to be my own. The Moon Clan offered peace and healing, but I was not ready for that. My soul was still a battlefield, and my hands still trembled with the need for vengeance. The Shadow Clan was my answer. They were a people who had used intelligence and wit to survive in a world of brute force. They were ruled by omegas and betas, people who had been betrayed and discarded, just like me. They would understand my pain, and they would give me the weapons I needed to fight back on my own terms. I would find them. I would become a ghost in this palace, a shadow in this world, and I would take back my dignity, one secret at a time. But as I began to navigate the palace, the whispers and gazes of the servants, I couldn't shake the feeling that they already knew who I was. And the thought came, a cold, sharp stab of fear. Did Jian know? Was his kindness a facade? Had my answer one night by accident. The doors to the royal study were ajar, and I heard voices. I was on my way to the kitchens, unable to sleep, and their voices were low, yet clear. One was Jian's. He does not remember, Jian said, his voice stripped of all its gentleness, now cold and sharp as a winter wind. The trauma, the shock, it has clouded his mind. He thinks he is a man from another world, which is a mercy. He does not know who he is, or who his family is. My heart hammered against my ribs. I froze, my body cold, with a fear worse than any I had felt in the mountains. He knew. But what will we do with him, my prince? A second voice, older and more cautious, asked. Jian's voice was a low growl, a sound I had come to associate with power, but not with kindness. We will keep him. We'll protect him. I will control him. The words hit me like a physical blow. He wasn't saving me. He was acquiring me. I was not a person to be healed, but a problem to be managed. A prince from a foreign kingdom, too valuable to let go, too dangerous to leave alone. I was a political tool. He was no different from the first monster. He was the same stupid alpha, just a member of the Earth Clan. My heart, which had just begun to thaw, shattered into a million frozen pieces. The first prince had used me as a pawn. The fourth prince would use me as a weapon. My revenge was no longer a simple, cold plan. It was a desperate, burning fire that would consume the very man who thought he was saving me. The war was not against one kingdom, but against two. Chapter 4. The truth. I stood frozen in the shadows, my breath held captive in my lungs. My heart hammered against my ribs. I had to know. The voices were low, yet clear. One was Jian's. He does not remember, Jian said, his voice stripped of all its gentleness, now cold and sharp as a winter wind. The trauma, the shock, it has clouded his mind. He thinks he is a man from another world, which is a mercy. He does not know who he is or who his family is. My heart hammered against my ribs. He knew. My entire life here, every moment of hope and fear had been a lie. But my prince, you said the Water Clan would not retaliate. The second voice, older and more cautious, said, You said the first prince had it handled. A cold, agonizing understanding washed over me. The Water Clan. My family was not Tamil royalty, but a people of the rivers and oceans, and I was their prince. The only Omega born to a family of alphas. A vivid, agonizing memory ripped through the haze of my mind. My father, Emperor Varen, a powerful alpha with a voice like a roaring tide, who had loved me with a fierce, possessive pride. My mother, Empress Mira, whose touch was as gentle as a calm river, a love I had felt my entire life. And then there was my brother, Prince Arjun. He was the eldest, the alpha heir to the throne. But my parents' love for their only Omega son was a constant shadow over his life. I saw it now in every memory. The way his lips would tighten when my mother hugged me. The coldness in his eyes when my father praised my quick mind over his strength. I had been a jewel to them, a rare and precious child in a family of warriors. And that devotion, that love, was a source of his jealousy. My own brother had sold me. Jian's voice, now thick with a sorrow that felt both genuine and agonizing, answered the question I was too afraid to ask. They did. They demanded to see him. But his brother. He killed them. And he made a deal with my brother. The first prince of the Fire Clan. He told us that the Shadow Clan had killed our parents with their weak medicine, that it was an act of mercy. My mind spun with the new horror. The first prince was of the Fire Clan, a people known for their ambition and aggression. And Jian, a gentle Earth Alpha, had married a Fire Clan Omega princess. He was a part of them now, bound by blood and law to his brother-in-law's corrupt dynasty. His love for his wife, his new family, made him a conspirator. He was not just a tool, he was an accomplice, his kind face a mask over a cold political reality. My family, dead. My brother, a murderer. The world was spinning, and this time there was no gentle hand to stop it. This was the most profound betrayal of all. Not of my honor, but of my love. My brother, my own blood, had taken everything. I went to the desk, grabbed the letter opener, a sharp piece of silver. My body trembled, but my mind was clearer than it had ever been. There was no more rage, no more pain, only a cold, empty resolve. The words of Jian and my brother echoed in my mind, a constant stream of lies and betrayal. Every lie I had believed, every moment I had felt safe in this palace, every time I felt like a fool for trusting him, I needed to remove all of it. I brought the blade to my neck, and with a single, precise cut, I carved out the rest of my gland. Oh, it was not a grand defiant act. It was a toy. I was a child who had been fooled by a shiny new toy, and I was going to remove the part that was so stupid to be fooled. I dug in with a detached clinical focus, pulling and tearing, my hands no longer trembling. The pain was blinding, a searing agony, but it was nothing compared to the pain of the betrayal. I held the slimy, slick piece of flesh and I dropped it to the floor. My scent, the strange, sweet scent of coconut that had been a part of me, was gone. In its place, the overwhelming smell of iron, of blood. I stood there, swaying, the silver blade still in my hand. I was no longer an Omega. I was nothing. A low gasp echoed behind me. The sound of running feet. Jian, he had heard. He burst into the room, his eyes wide with a look of pure terror. He saw the blood. A dark, growing pool on the floor. He saw my face, pale and emotionless, and then his eyes found the grotesque piece of flesh at my feet. The absence of my scent, the smell of my blood, had made him frantic. He was scared, was shocked. He was here. I want to protect him, he whispered, his voice a broken cry. But I can't. I never thought this would happen. My body, my mind, every instinct I had went cold. He was just another alpha, a different kind of monster. He would lie to me again. He would try to control me again. He was coming toward me. And the sight of him, his face full of pity and sorrow, made me feel sick. I didn't think. I just moved. With all the force I could muster, I instinctively stumbled backward. My body lurched in the opposite direction of his outstretched hand, and I felt the solid air give way. I didn't care if it was a cliff or a stairwell. I would rather fall into the darkness than be touched by him again. The world tilted, and the darkness returned, and I fell. Chapter 5. A pact of souls. I woke to the cold, hard reality of the stone floor. My body felt like a broken doll, a heavy inert weight I couldn't move. The pain in my neck was a distant, dull ache, but the emptiness was a chasm. I had no scent, no shame, no weakness. I was truly, irrevocably, nothing. Jian was near me, his frantic movements and low whispers, a frantic sound in the darkness. I could see the shimmering gold of his pheromones, a gentle, worried light in the air, but I felt nothing. It was like watching the wind move without feeling its touch. It worked. I was free. I lay still, my eyes closed, willing him to leave. He did. The door clicked shut, and I heard the sound of retreating footsteps. I lay in the quiet darkness, alone. Aditya. The voice was a whisper in my mind, a soft, familiar melody that had been lost for 2 years. A new scent, like dew and clean mountain air, filled the space. When I opened my eyes, I saw him. A magnificent creature, his fur the color of night, his eyes like 2 stars. But he was not as I remembered. He had 6 tails when I knew him, a symbol of his power and pride. Now he had only 4. He knelt beside me, his gaze full of a profound sadness. I have been searching for you, my friend. My mind, so full of betrayal and cold resolve, broke. This was impossible, Shyam. I rasped, my throat raw. He nodded, a graceful dip of his head. Shyam. His name had been lost with my memories, a ghost in my mind, a friend I hadn't even known I'd forgotten. He was a creature of myth, one of the legendary 6-tailed beasts that only the most powerful alphas of the Earth clan could communicate with. He had been my friend since childhood. We had played in the gardens of the Water Clan. 2 young princes with a shared secret. A friendship between a boy and a mystical creature. His 6 tails were a symbol of his purity, his pride, and his immense power. Tears, hot and shameful, streamed down my face. A tidal wave of grief washed over me. He had lost his power for me. The first prince of the Fire Clan, the very prince I had been sold to, had found him first. He had seen my friend's power and, in a vicious act of cruelty, had cut away 3 of his tails, stealing his energy to make his own power even greater. My friend had escaped, but with a piece of his soul gone. I found you near the river 2 years ago, he whispered. I saw you fall, and I sensed him, the 4th prince. I was going to fight, but he was powerful. He was an alpha of the Earth clan, a man of peace. But in an act of political bargaining, he took 1 more of my tails. He needed my energy to protect his clan, not to use in war, but to stand against his brother in the Fire Clan. He was a good man, but a part of a terrible system. I ran, and I have been watching you ever since. Then a new scent mine filled the air. Scent of blood, not submission. It felt it. A final, desperate act that had resonated through the very earth. He had used the last of his energy to come to me, to save me. I looked at his 2 remaining tails, his lost pride, and a tidal wave of grief washed over me. He had lost everything because of me. The Fire Clan, the Earth Clan, my brother, they had taken everything from him, just as they had taken from me. I was not alone. I was no longer a prince. I was no longer a pawn. I was just Aditya, a broken man who had found his only friend in a world of monsters. The shame of my Omega status, the humiliation of the past 2 years, all of it was gone. In its place, only a single truth remained. He was here. He knelt beside me, his gaze full of a profound sadness. Prince, I said, his voice gentle, using the title that had become my gilded cage. Please stop. You are Aditya. You are my friend, and we will go home. We'll get your body back. I took a shaky breath, a single, agonizing sob escaping my throat. I was not a prince. I was Aditya. I was not a pawn. I was his friend. I took a leap of faith with him, and he carried me on his back to the mountains, to a new, terrifying future. We would go to the Moon Clan, a place of peace, to heal and to plan. I had a new resolve. I would not simply seek revenge. I would burn it all down.